You may be wondering why this man is scolding that young lady. Have you ever heard of a girl becoming pregnant without knowing a man? It only happened with the Virgin Mary. But this is my story. My name is Gladys, and it all began with a question I never imagined asking: how can I be pregnant when I've never been with anyone? In the year I turned 17, I had just failed my O level exams, and the news seemed to weigh down every corner of our home. My father's disappointment pressed on me without words. Once he had hope that I, the eldest daughter, would lead by example, shining as a beacon for my younger ones. For my siblings, they were doing so well in school, while I stumbled. Ever since my mother left us years ago, he had been determined to steer us towards excellence. Where that failed, he turned to strict measures and constant supervision. If he couldn't guarantee our happiness, he would at least ensure our success, except I kept failing to meet his standards. In the wake of my failure, my father arranged for a private tutor to help me pass the retake. I offered no protest. I had learned long ago that resistance brought only sighs and closed doors. My siblings seemed indifferent, caught up in their own triumphs, while I hovered at the margins, ashamed and weary. For weeks, months, I spent late afternoon and evenings poring over textbooks, practice papers, and notes. I told myself to focus, to somehow justify my father's grudging investments. Strangely, I began to feel unwell. At first, it seemed like ordinary fatigue, the strain of late night studies, the pressure building in my chest. But a heavier lethargy settled over me, accompanied by mild queasiness and sudden dizziness. I wondered if it was just stress. Then one morning, everything shifted. I collapsed at home, dizzy and nauseous, unable to stand without my head spinning. Alarmed, my father decided it was time for a proper checkup. The hospital's sterile corridors seemed to stretch on forever as we waited for the doctors to return the test results. I sat on the examination bed, my father beside me, arms folded, when the doctor finally entered. His face was solemn. He didn't miss words. Your daughter is pregnant. My father stiffened, stunned into speechlessness. Pregnant? With whom? How? His disbelief cuddled into anger and confusion. When he finally spoke, it was through clenched teeth, directing a barrage of questions at me. I had no answers. I had never been with anyone. I struggled to protest my innocence, my voice shaking as I insisted that I knew nothing. But my father believed only what he could reason out. If I was pregnant, then I must have a secret boyfriend. Must have been lying to him. I watched him shut down, his gaze turning cold. News traveled faster than Hamatan winds in our neighborhood. Whispers became open accusation. That Gladys has brought shame to her father. I overheard Mama Nkechi tell her friends at her roadside provision shop. Pregnant at her age, she swears she's innocent. Can you imagine such audacity? Another voice chimed in. Haba, innocent ke. Do we look like children? She should own up to her sin and stop pretending. Virgin Mary indeed. Everywhere I went, eyes followed me. Women who used to greet me warmly now hissed under their breath. See her, carrying Bele without shame, they muttered. loud enough for me to hear. I couldn't leave the house without feeling like a walking disgrace. Even the children began to chant at me, Virgin Mary, oh, Virgin Mary, oh. Their high pitched mockery haunted me day and night. Soon, my father's shame turned to punishment. He stripped my room bare. No books, no radio, no sewing kits, just a mattress and a bare floor. I was forbidden from stepping outside. My father even stopped the tutor, saying there was no need to spend money to help my education since I'm unwilling to learn. Neighbors watched our compound, craning necks to catch a glimpse of the girl who defied nature. My name became a parable, a lesson mothers use to scare their daughters into obedience. If you don't behave, you will end up like Gladys. Soon, my father turned to logic. If I claimed no involvement, he would find proof of my deception. He poured out our CCTV footage, days, weeks. He scrolled through them, eyes narrowed in search for the mysterious culprit who must have slipped in and out without anyone notice. Yet the screens yielded nothing. No visitor appeared at odd hours, no trembling figures seeking past the front door. The absence of evidence enraged him. He seemed convinced I had found some corny ways to hide my tracks. I felt cornered, terrified, and utterly alone. My father could not believe in my innocence, and my siblings were too unsettled to help. Perhaps they thought I had made a reckless choice and now refused to admit it. Shivering with despair, I remembered the woman who once taught me lullabies and stitched broken buttons on my school uniform. My mother. She had left us in silence long ago, and I rarely allowed myself to think of her. But now I had no one else. With trembling fingers, I dialed the number still saved in my phone. On a trembling impulse, I called her. She answered after a few rings, her voice hesitant but gentle. I explained as best as I could the unexpected pregnancy, the accusations I faced, my bafflement at the entire situation. She said nothing for a long moment, and then, quietly, she promised to come. I doubted my father would welcome her, but I could not refuse her help. When my mother arrived, our home seemed to hold its breath. My father confronted her at the door, demanding to know why she returned. She lifted her chin and said, Our daughter needs help. He tried to argue, but she slipped past him. No matter their difference, I was their child, and she would not be turned away. We sat together in my small room. She listened as I recounted the strange fatigue, the lost memories, the emptiness, where understanding should be. She did not call me a liar. She did not accuse me. Instead, she said, We will find the truth, and I believed her. She made phone calls and eventually confided in me that she had contacted Clara, a woman known for her ability to uncover secrets hidden in shadows. Clara arrived discreetly. I only saw glimpses of them working together. My mother combining through old documents, Clara connecting cables to a laptop and typing in silence. I don't know how Clara did it. Perhaps she had traced phone calls. Maybe she unearthed files from abandoned devices. But I don't know what she did. Late one afternoon, Clara and my mother asked me and my father to join them in the living room. My siblings lingered in the background, curious and anxious. Clara set up a device to our TV She had discovered hidden video files, recordings that did not appear in my father's careful review. The screen flickered into view, showing me at a study table, looking tired and distracted. The tutor's presence drifted at the edge of the frame, nothing remarkable at first glance. But as the recording progressed, my eyes widened. I watched myself slump forward, becoming still and unresponsive. Then the tutor stepped into full view, doing things that made my stomach lurch and my vision blur with tears. I turned away, barely able to watch the violation that had been committed against me in my own home. There was no shout, no grand struggle, just a silent violation. I felt my stomach twist, my throat tighten. My father gasped, stepping back as though struck. My mother reached for my hand. Tears blurred my vision, and I could barely breathe. This then was the truth. I had been a victim without even knowing. My father said nothing at first. I could feel him trembling beside me. I dared not look at him. My mother's voice was tight when she finally spoke, confirming the unimaginable crime. Here was the explanation, a monstrous truth hidden behind ordinary days and quiet evening. Everything that made no sense now became brutally clear. Clara handed over the evidence. The authorities were involved. My mother stayed, refusing to leave me alone in this time. In the months that followed, I tried to heal. My father apologized repeatedly, remorseful and unsure of how to make amends. My mother guided me through the pregnancy, standing by as I gave birth to a son who bore no guilt for the circumstances of his conception. Those first months were hard, but I decided I would not remain frozen in the moments of victimhood. With my mother's support, both emotional and financial, I enrolled in a fashion school. You see, before all this madness, I had a flair for design. I would sketch these dresses in the margins of my notebook, practice stitching patterns on old wrappers. Now, I wanted to turn that hidden talent into something real and tangible. Stepping into that fashion school felt like entering a new world. I learned about textures, fabrics, the artistry of ashoke, and contemporary global styles. I poured my grief and resilience into my work, each stitch a silent prayer for reinvention. My instructors praised my attention to detail and unique fusion of traditional motifs with modern elegance. I found rhythm in the hum of sewing machines and the laughter of classmates who knew nothing about my past. As I completed my program, my parents, yes, my father and mother together, came to my side. With a surprising gesture, they secured a spacious boutique and workshop for me in a bustling district of the country. It was a large, airy place with big windows that let sun in, a clean palette on which I could paint my dreams in fabric and thread. I started small, making custom outfits for friends and local customers. Word spread quickly. My designs carried an authenticity and emotional depth that appealed to clients. In less than a year, my business, Glad Threads, flourished. What started as a few custom orders blossomed into a thriving enterprise. I hired staff, embraced social media marketing, and attended fashion shows. Soon, my annual turnover ran into millions of naira, something my father could never imagined. Yet, I wanted more. Running a successful business taught me the importance of understanding finance, strategy, and global markets, so I enrolled at the university for a degree in business management. Balancing lectures with running my business and caring for my son was challenging, but I had learned to be strong. This time, I excelled in my studies. The theories came alive in my daily work: supply chain, staffing, branding. I graduated with honors, making my family proud. My father, who once saw me as failure, now boasted about my achievements to neighbors. After a few more years of steady growth, I decided to push further. I enrolled for an MBA program, determined to take glad threads onto the global stage. The coursework was intense, but my experience in the real world of entrepreneurship enriched every class discussion. I forged connections with peers from diverse backgrounds, and I began to consider international collaboration and sustainable sourcing. My vision expanded from local markets to a worldwide audience, hungry for unique and quality fashion. Today, as I stand in my workshop, watching my staff carefully fold new finished garments, I reflect on the journey. I was the girl who failed her O-levels, who was accused unjustly, who carried pregnancy born of violence, but I did not remain a victim. I shaped my destiny. My mother, once absent, became my pillar. My father learned new ways of love and understanding. My son grew older, witnessing a mother who rose from ashes to build an empire of color and texture, each piece telling a story of survival and grace. In Nigeria, we say, no condition is permanent. I'm a living proof of that truth. My life, once shattered, now shines with purpose. I have learned that dignity can be reclaimed, that broken foundation can be rebuilt into skyscrapers of possibility. My story is one of pain, yes, but also of transformation. And as I hold my new designs under the Lagos sun, I know that I have found my voice and my strength, and no one can take them away.